Hello everyone. How can we impact 1 billion lives through virtual spaces? That would be the idea that I'll be sharing with you today. I am Monica Bishnoi and I'm part of the SAP Customer Experience Go-to-Market team based out of San Francisco. This is an idea for 1 billion lives impact ventures. So what is this idea? Now recently, many tech firms have announced that they'll be asking most of their employees and many of their employees to work from home. Some of them have asked them to work from home permanently. Now this is a significant change. One of the very strong statement comes from Sundar Pichai, who is the CEO of Alphabet, where he mentions that this pandemic will accelerate the movement of businesses to digital services, including increased online work, education, medicine, shopping and entertainment, and this change will be significant and long-lasting. Now our old ways of working, we were working from office, in-person meetings were happening, there were live conferences, in-store shopping or in-person entertainment was happening, has changed completely with people confined to homes, meetings of all kinds, meeting for work, meeting for conferences, for online entertainment, or friends meeting, all of them have shifted online. Video conferencing tools are used today for these meetings. More time they spend using such tools, it's likely that more and more they'll become accustomed to it. Once picked up out of necessity, it'll eventually become a mode of choice for most of the users. Now today, most of the applications have a one-size-fits-all approach, and this is a tremendous growth area where specialized application or what venture capitalists are calling as unbundling of Zoom will take place. How big is this market? We're seeing an explosion creating a huge set of user market, and you can see an explosion of video or chat online conferences. You can see online shopping taking place. There's online healthcare using telehealth apps or media and entertainment apps that are coming up with a huge explosion of users in this market. Who's catering this market? We are seeing applications like Zoom, applications like Microsoft Teams, Slack, Hangouts, and House Party booming in this space. In fact, recently looking at the growth that they've had, it's more than exponential. But what are the challenges with these big apps who are playing in this market? We're seeing that most of these apps, as I was mentioning earlier, has an one-size-fits-all approach. So if it were a setting of a professor giving a presentation to the students, a professor would wonder, how can he look at the presentation and his audience at the same time? Why? Because as a teacher, it's important to look at the faces and the experience of the students. If it's a setting of a friends meeting, again, there are challenges with these apps where there is no equal space given to the users. Even when there's equal space, there is no proper utilization of the limited virtual state that is provided through these applications. And you can look at an experience of a business user where, let's say, there's an interesting point that comes, the audience will have to scroll through the screens to look at a particular person and then engage or interact with that person. Again, not a really optimized experience to provide. And finally, if it's a teacher and a student who is looking at a classroom kind of experience, it's tragic how the teachers have to engage without seeing the students' faces, and also they also struggle in maintaining the discipline that's necessary to provide an optimized classroom experience. So these challenges are also providing a stimulus for change. So why do we need a change? Is because most of these applications were traditionally built for sales meetings. Most of these applications do not replicate the physical experience of the user. They were only there for convenience sake, and they all have a one-size-fits-all approach, even when the needs are different for different users. So what's the solution? The solution is one which is built grounds up for the user set, which is a mindset, and the user setting, the purpose for which they are having that virtual interaction. So the solution is something that is purpose built for video first, focused on people interaction, something that translates their physical user experience, physical experience in a classroom, physical experience in a meeting, physical experience in a lecture hall, into a digital virtual space. This is a solution which is built for different occasions. Looking at the solution that needs to be provided, here is a proposition for a product, an application that translates the physical experience of the user into a virtual space. This is a product which will be built with AI, which provides a quantum shift in video interaction platform. It's a platform which is built with empathy for the user, with less features or features which are meant for all, and more utility, which is contextual and provided based on the user's needs. And it's built for a purpose, which means that it's context specific, a virtual space template that's provided with this platform. Let me introduce to you Sabha. Sabha is a Sanskrit word for meeting. It's a platform for creating virtual spaces for the next generation of virtual experiences. Here's a prototype sketch that provides a glance into how the solution translates into a product. Now, this is an example of a business presentation. In a real world scenario, the audience view is of the presenter and a presentation, whereas the presenter's view is of the audience and perhaps a small slide show that may be run on a screen. How can we translate that experience into a virtual space? You can look at two different UIs, user interfaces here. One is for the presenter, the other one is for the audience. Now, as a presenter view, one such virtual space can help the presenter look at all of their audiences in a portrait mode. Now, most of the applications today provide a horizontal, a landscape mode view of their audiences, which is unnecessary wastage of the virtual estate, which is limited for the presenter. What if we can change that in an AI focus, which tracks the faces of the audience and looks at only a portrait view of those audiences, giving the maximum output or the maximum experience to the presenter? And what if the audience, someone in the audience speaks, we can enhance the screen size so that we can look at that audience in much more detail? What if the presenter could adjust the screen size for the presentation that he is giving so that he could accommodate more audiences in that virtual space? And what if all of the reactions that are given by the audiences are seen by the presenter in real time when he's giving that presentation? And what if the presenter could also see a custom rate of change of all the audiences that he's seeing on the virtual space? What that means is that in real time, he would be able to track most of the audiences if there are a large group of audience that he's catering to. Now, this fundamental shift in UI enables the presenters to not look at themselves, as they don't really see themselves when they give an actual presentation, so there is no self view. And also there is minimal distraction with the option of disable group chats with no distractions for the presenter. Now let's quickly look at the audience view here. Now, as an audience, one should have a limited number of faces seen on the screen, because what they really care about is the topic that they are for in that presentation. They can look at the presenter in more detail and look at the presentation or the points that are being discussed. They can have, again, very simplified, minimal, no noise distraction on the UI with minimal options like controls to one-to-many chats and not necessarily group chats. And again, they can see the audience's portrait view, which is AI track focus enabled. What that means is we can build a virtual space which is built leveraging AI, which means that we can focus on video interactions in a much more optimized way, reducing the overall noise and seeing more in the limited virtual state that the users have. Second is we can build these applications with empathy for what the user should be able to do in the virtual space, depending on their role as a presenter or as an audience. Third, we can build all these templates for a purpose. So the case in point here is a business presentation template, but the same can be for a doctor-patient interaction or a teacher-student interaction. How can we extend Sabha with the enterprise solutions? Number one is that we can help the users, business users of enterprise applications search for people from the enterprise solution directly and interact with the people. We can cut the clutter and help them interact directly. And we can also keep a history for all the virtual spaces that they do with different people. Now in the HR world, it can mean a virtual space which is created for an interview process. In a sales world, it can be a virtual space created for a customer meeting. In a vendor partner world, it can be a virtual space created directly between the OEM and a vendor or a partner. We can extend this solution with industry-focused virtual spaces. Now to start with, we can focus on healthcare virtual spaces, which are meant for telehealth market, in which a doctor-patient interaction, virtual interaction, becomes really important. Now this is a market which is growing at an exponential rate. The accelerated growth we are seeing is around 25%, and this is only going to increase with the world that we live in today, demanding more and more virtual interactions. Education is another virtual space that can be created with an accelerated growth of 15% over the next 5 years, and with a tremendous incremental growth of around $132 billion. This is the global online tutoring market that we're talking about. And one such number to state here is that during COVID, there were 1.3 billion learners that were impacted by this. Entertainment or media is another virtual space which is seeing an accelerated growth as more and more people are looking at online video platforms, and there's a rise in online video consumption. This is a booming market as well, which is seeing an incremental growth of around $100 million in the next 5 years. Now these are some such ideas that we can leverage to create the next generation of virtual interaction platform, which is Sabha, which can impact billions of lives through these virtual spaces. With that, I rest my presentation. Thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to ideating more on how we can create a tremendous impact using Sabha virtual spaces.